Come on in to Margaret McSweeney's Kitchen for Kitchen Chat, where every week you'll meet chefs, cookbook authors, foodies, gourmets, and just plain people who love to eat. And along with laughter, chat, recipes, and stories about food, you'll sometimes also hear words of inspiration, love, and hope. As Margaret always says, Kitchen Chat is food for the senses and food for the soul. So grab a cup of coffee, put your feet up on a comfy chair, and get ready to spend a little time with Margaret and her friends.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is your host, Margaret McSweeney, here on webtalkradio.net. And I am so delighted that you are here today, virtually in my kitchen. We have an amazing guest, and I just am so humbled and in awe that she is here in our kitchen. Amanda Hesser, who needs no introduction by any means. Gourmet named her one of the 50 most influential women in the food industry today. And here she is on Kitchen Chat. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is just so great to have you here. And I just, first of all, wanted to welcome you to the kitchen, and I cannot wait to hear about the exciting things you are involved in. First of all, a quick look at your past. I mean, you are a highly acclaimed food editor, culinary columnist, author, and your latest hat is that of entrepreneur. I don't know how you do it or have done it. What was it? 750 articles with New York Times, and you created a couple of columns. Was it Food Diary and Recipe? Is it, how do you say it?
Redux.
Yes, I was about to say reduce, but yes. And then several books. I loved the one, what was it, the chocolate latte?
Cooking for Mr. Latte?
Cooking for Mr. Latte. Well, you can see my mind is always on chocolate. So. And Cook and the Gardener, and the award-winning Essential New York Times cookbook. That was just incredible as well. And your latest, of course, is Food 52, a wonderful entrepreneurial project you have created. Is it with Meryl? Is that her name?
Yes, Meryl Stubbs.
Yes, how fun. Dynamic duo of the culinary world. And so I can't wait to talk about all the exciting things going on with that community. But first of all, if we can just take a quick peek into your past and a peek into your kitchen. First of all, with the past, as I said, you wrote 750 articles. Oh my goodness. I can't imagine all the topics. And looking at that, what was your favorite food diary column? Or did you have a favorite?
Well, the Food Diary, there were only about 25 of those. The thing that was fun about writing Food Diary was that it was a chance to write about the intersection of kind of food and emotion and relationships and how food intertwines into our everyday lives, which is something that I didn't actually get to write very much about when I was as a reporter. And so that was one of the reasons why I started that column, was to sort of just get at how, food is just this kind of vital part of our everyday life and our relationships and our emotional state and our memories. And
yes.
And so, I was just starting to date my now husband, and he was not very much of what you might call a foodie. And, of course, food was really such a huge part of my life and professional life. And so I thought that conflict would be kind of worth exploring in a column and be something that others could relate to.
Yes, and it's so interesting how that has kind of carried on into the future with Food 52. But before we kind of jump into the present, just want to linger in the past a little bit. And you have touched upon a very important very important point, and that's about the food association. I mean, like Marcel, was it Proust, and when he took a bite of the Madeleine and in France and associated the taste of that little cookie with his childhood. There really is a connection with food and our life, and you have truly just captured that so well in every single endeavor. And one interesting thing too that I looked at in your quick bio online is that you designed a 17th century style herb garden at a French chateau. Oh my heavens, tell us about that.
So at the time I was working for a woman named Anne Willen, who is the founder of La Varenne, École de Cuisine La Varenne, which is a leading cooking school in France. Mm-hmm. In the 1970s and 80s and into the 1990s. And she also has written more than 30 cookbooks and has been actually quite an influential figure in the food world, even though she's not like maybe a household name. Mm-hmm. And I worked for her, and she lived in the 17th century chateau, and I was writing a book. Actually, my first book is based on her gardener. It's called The Cook and the Gardener. Oh. And while I was there, one of the things that the gardener was not actually that interested in was herbs. And Anne and her husband Mark wanted an herb garden. And so they also, obviously they lived on this historical property. Mm. And they had one of the best libraries, personal libraries of gardening and cookbooks. And so I just felt like it was a perfect opportunity to kind of dig in and read a lot about how old gardens were formerly designed, and also to travel around in France to look at some of the old chateau herb gardens, which you can are essentially tourist attractions. And so yes. I kind of dug in and did that, and I made a proposal for them, and then I worked with their gardener to build this garden that had a brick pathway that was kind of shaped like a bow tie, which was kind of a classic shape, and then we planted, I think, almost, I would say 50 to 100 varieties of herbs. And it was just a really fantastic experience. And also as a cook, really gratifying to be able to work with all of these very old strains of herbs and create a place that was essentially like a little bit of a wonderland for a cook to browse, when we were cooking dinner.
I can imagine just the overwhelming fragrance of creating an herb garden. And
we were in a very lucky place because we were in Burgundy, so which is kind of the middle of France, and the climate is perfect so that we could grow everything from lemongrass to much hardier herbs like thyme and rosemary.
Wow. So over the centuries, do you think the herb gardens or the herbs have really changed in terms of the uses and the types of herbs? Have you noticed?
Well, there are a lot of herbs that you don't see anymore, like things like rue.
I wonder, is that where like you'll rue the day comes from? It must be a really bitter herb. What is that like?
It's extremely fragrant, actually. It's the kind of thing that if you just wave your hand over it, you will get a very intense aroma. And, there were a lot of herbs in, old, centuries-old herb gardens that were were actually primarily not for consumption, but were actually they were for a different kind of consumption. They were for medicinal purposes, so that you would, you might boil them in a syrup, or you might boil them and drink the liquid, or they were really meant for health, to be consumed for health reasons, as opposed to making your food taste better.
Oh, what an incredible experience. And do you have your own herb garden there in Brooklyn?
I do, actually, but it's barely a suggestion of an herb garden, really. I have a couple of, I have 4 or 5 boxes and planters on a deck, and I grow, I do things like I grow Thai basil and I grow verbena and lemon balm and a few unusual things, but and I love it, but it's not nearly what we had in Burgundy.
Oh, well, still, it just sounds incredible. And you'd mentioned something. What is Thai basil? I've not heard of that.
It's just a variety of basil. It has a much narrower leaf and I would say a kind of stronger minty flavor.
Ah, okay. And do you use it mainly in Asian dishes or?
You could use it really in anything that you use basil for. So if you wanted to put it into a tomato sauce, or if you wanted to put it on a sandwich, or if you wanted to make a pesto with it, you could certainly use it. Its leaf is stronger and firmer than Italian basil, which is much more delicate and can be easily bruised.
Ah, okay. I didn't realize herbs can bruise.
Yeah.
And so when you say bruise, I mean, what exactly does that mean when an herb
Well, that's like
bruises?
when if you've ever pinched a leaf of basil, that the area where you pinch will sort of turn darker green and then it'll start rotting. So
Ah,
that's why they say technically, well, like when you're making pesto, you're bruising and pounding the leaves to push out the flavor, right?
yes, yes, that's
And
true.
but if you don't have a sharp knife and you're chopping basil,
Hmm.
and it kind of mashes rather than chops, that's essentially bruising
Okay.
it.
Great. Well, thank you for helping me understand that little technical term there. And speaking of herb gardens, I was so impressed. We're now going to take a quick peek into your kitchen, and I am just so thrilled. I love your food52.com website, and I can't wait to talk about that. But a quick little peek into your kitchen, you have this delightful video. It's a video tour of your kitchen, and I just love it. And you have basically kind of an herb garden, more or less, in one of your drawers with these incredible collections of the spices
Oh
that
yeah.
you have.
Well, when you write about food, and especially when you're like a reporter like I was, you end up, and I also wrote a lot of like cooking columns. So you're constantly trying new spices or trying new dishes which require new spices, and so you end up amassing like a huge variety of spices that maybe the average cook wouldn't, and you need to store them. And so I've actually, it's been kind of an ongoing challenge to figure out how to do it. And I think I finally sort of landed on the way, which is I have two very deep drawers, one on top of the other. And I put all of the spices into these small tins that have clear lids, and on those clear lids, I hand write with a dry erase marker the name of the spice, so that when I just open the drawer, and then I arrange, they are arranged alphabetically, and the idea is that when you open the drawer, you can instantly see what you have.
Right.
Because I have a couple hundred.
Wow. A cup. Oh, and how can you tell when an herb expires? I mean, do they have an expiration date, or if stored properly, they're kind of like cigars in a humidor? I don't know.
Well, yes, I mean, proper storage is definitely important. So, that's one of the reasons I keep them in tins. And in a drawer is helpful. And away from your hot kitchen is also another key detail, because you don't want the herbs to be hot. You want them basically in a cool, dark place. Like most foods that you want to store, that's the best condition for them.
Okay.
And in general, like the chefs say that, and also spice experts will say that, you wouldn't want to keep a ground spice for more than a year. If you have whole spices, you can keep them a little bit longer. And then, of course, you want to toast them in a hot pan before you either mortar and pestle them or grind them in a spice grinder. But, yes, it is a good idea to actually date your spices. I don't do it because I go through so many spices very quickly, which is, I understand that that's not what the average cook experiences. But so if you are a home cook, I think it's a really good idea to just put a date on it, and that way you don't. I mean, I laugh every, when I can remember visiting my mother, and she had this. I think it was like granulated garlic or something that it was in the same. I mean, it was the same jar that I had grown up with 20 years ago. It actually still smelled okay, which was a little scary, but
Oh, maybe that's why garlic keeps the vampires away, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fun. One day I'd love to hear about the stories associated with different spices. But what is your favorite spice that you use?
I actually really like nutmeg, but grated, like fresh grated. So I buy the whole nutmegs and then I grate them, and I don't use them just for sweet
Mm-hmm.
things like, cakes and cookies. I actually use nutmeg on pasta and sometimes, with potatoes. And I just think it has like a nice fragrance. And I think when you freshly grate it, it's very intoxicating.
Yes. And what is a spice you have not yet tried but would like to try in a dish?
Hmm. I don't think I can think of one. I feel like I've had most of the ones I've ever heard of.
Okay, that is great. You have had a tour of spices.
Yeah.
That is terrific. Well, good. And just to kind of tie this and segue into Food 52, what an incredible community of home cooks that you have built through this online community, food52.com, which I understand, and congratulations, is a winner of the James Beard Foundation Publication of the Year. That's
Yeah.
fabulous. Yes. And what is the basic concept with Food 52? And if you could just share a little bit with our kitchen chat listeners, that would be terrific.
Well, essentially, my friend Meryl and I wanted to bring together people who love food and connect them to each other, and also, create great content together. So create great recipes, share information, help each other out in the kitchen. We wanted to create a food site that we wanted to hang out at. And we felt like if you looked online, at the time that we started Food 52, there were a lot of really huge and incredibly successful recipe sites. And then there were a ton of blogs, and many of those blogs were wonderful, but they all kind of lived in separately. And they also were creative people who had the sort of right circumstances in their life to create them. So meaning they, were great cooks or photographers, and they had enough extra time that they could, put the work into a food blog, which is significant.
Right.
And we felt like, just the fact that there were this many blogs was, great evidence that the food movement was taking hold. In fact, people had gone from, consuming food media to actually wanting to create their own.
Right.
And wanting to be being acknowledged for their talents and their creativity. We were making a bet that if there were this many people who were out there who were talented and had all the right things, all the right circumstances in their life to create a blog, then think of all the many more people who just love food, and people like you who, like, you might not cook that much, but you really love food, you know a lot about it, and you want to share your joy of food with other people.
Yes.
And so we wanted to create a place that wasn't just where we were broadcasting, recipes and articles and things, but actually that we essentially created a framework that people could contribute to. So when we started, we had no recipes, and
Wow.
and our community has added more than 17,000 recipes since we launched. And then our the way we do our recipe creation is through contests, and so those contests, in the process of the contest, the recipes get tested and vetted. Group of recipes that the community has together decided should be highlighted, and then and those are the ones that come up higher in search. So the idea is the community creates the content, vets the content, and then that creates a site that is stronger and better, because if you just happen upon Food 52 and you're looking for a recipe, the first thing we'll show you are the recipes that have been fully vetted and styled and have basically gotten the stamp of approval of not only our team but the community at large.
And that's just incredible to have, access to 17,000 recipes. I mean, it's basically an online recipe box that readers and listeners can refer to.
Yeah.
And I love the way you've organized it too, where basically you've just recently come out with your first cookbook, Food 52, where you what is it? You created a cookbook within 52 weeks? Is that?
Yes. So that's
Wow.
how it got started. Is we decided to use the cookbook as a way to kind of build the content on the site and help build the community and sort of see if what our idea actually had validity and could gain traction. And so we used our 52 weeks of recipe contest to create our first cookbook, and we actually have a second one coming out this fall. We've
Oh,
also done an
great.
iPad app where it's a holiday recipe and survival guide, and we sourced and created that with our community. And we do lots of other things now too, like we have a Q&A part of our site called Hotline.
Yes, and I wanted to talk to the hotline because I think I'm going to be an avid user of that.
Oh, good.
It's just great because I mean, how many of us out there, I mean, are just like in the middle of the recipe and it's like, wait, what do you do with this? Oh my goodness. And, guests are coming and you're just trying to figure out. In fact, I loved one of the, the questions on the hotline as a little example. What to do with head-on bay shrimp? Can I fry and eat them whole? And then the response from, fellow home cooks coming to the guy's rescue in terms of what to do.
And that's the whole goal, is that we built this community of really knowledgeable food people, and they love helping each other out, and they are very generous with their time. And so if we could create this resource for cooks and all over the country, a place where they can ask all their questions and get real-time responses and help each other, and also not just get responses, but have those responses vetted by the community so that the best ones are highlighted, so which ones to trust and who which cooks on the site too, whose answers which of those people are reputable. And the idea is to kind of create this ongoing kind of resource, but also it's very filtered.
Yes, and it's so much fun. I love the double entendre because I so appreciate your background in economics and finance. I'm a former Wall Street banker myself, and so when I noticed the pie chart that you were using, that is so cute in terms of filling the pie, And if you could share with the listeners kind of what this pie chart, quote, pie chart means and how they can benefit from it.
Right. So next to every community member's name is a pie, and some people have more pie, and some people have less pie. And those with more, that means that they have gained more reputation on the site, and that might mean that they have participated a lot, that their participation has been rewarded with people like voting on their recipes or voting on their answers, or that they have won recipe contests, or that they, essentially that it's a way of recognizing those who have been positive community members, and that who you can rely on.
Yeah, and kind of similar to, what is it, like on eBay or where who all has sold, is a reputable vendor type of, I guess, strategy, where this is, they're a reputable and experienced contributor, participant, and fellow foodie. That is just so great. And there are just so many ways, too, to interact as a community on your website, and it's just so exciting to see too. And I love your latest invitation that's out there in terms of you're trying to get a collection of kitchen videos. Which is great. So you're inviting people to submit just a video tour of their kitchen?
Yes, we have done that. The idea is to kind of continually invite people to participate in lots of different parts of, the way they interact with food, whether it's, in designing their kitchen in a certain way, or arranging in a certain way, or, where they like to shop, what kind of ingredients they like to buy, there's just a ton of information that we feel like is interesting to share, and is a way for us to help us over time to figure out how to connect like-minded people on the site in a more specific way. Because right now people come together and kind of find each other, but over time we really want to be introducing people to others that we think they'll be interested in based on activity on the site.
Exactly. And you bring some wonderful resources in for that as well with different chefs and just a great resource with that and online tools. There are just a variety of items you can purchase too that have been kind of
Yes.
tested by. Yes, I just think that is so helpful, no matter if you're a novice or well experienced in the kitchen. I just think everyone can gather some great tips from food52.com, and I'm so glad you have set this up. And it's true, don't you think, that we all end up gathering in the kitchen, and I just think that's so meaningful that's the gathering place
It
basically
is. It
for
is.
everyone. Yes, and I just I think the kitchen is the heart of the world, as I always say, and food is its universal language. And I'm just so thrilled that you're bringing so many great interactive resources and tools that a home cook at any level, whatever level, can enjoy. And I know several chefs that invite this as well. Our mutual friend, Chef James, the two-time winner of Chopped. He's just delightful. He and Brooke.
He's also been a winner on. He's also been a winner on Food 52.
Oh, wow. Well, a big shout out to James. Oh, he's delightful. And then dear Katie Workman, she is delightful. And I know, yes, she was on Kitchen Chat, goodness, a few weeks ago. And I actually had the delightful opportunity to meet her. She came to do a charity event here in Chicago, and just delightful. And I saw that you had endorsed her wonderful cookbook about the cookbook for moms, and so that's really neat how that ties in. And she says a big hello, and in fact she had a question for me to ask you too. She was saying, what's the weirdest and most consistent thing you have forgotten to pack while on a book tour? Leave it to Katie to ask that.
Yeah, I feel like my answer is boring because I actually I'm a pretty good packer.
I'm not surprised after.
If anything, I bring too much stuff. But yeah, I think I've mastered though getting everything into a carry-on.
Oh, now that's amazing. That is a great accomplishment. It's always hard to believe that. I know you should write a book on like how to organize. I am so impressed. I mean, everyone, you've got to check out this video, and I'm going to definitely get a link on Kitchen Chat where you provide this tour of your kitchen, and it's just beautiful. And then I love how you describe your desk as looking like blue cheese. I love that description. So even your work area has the food association. It's just great. But I'm going to have to play that back because it's like, oh, okay, now which cookbooks are on her shelf? I was trying to stop the video to see that. What is the cookbook that you tend to pull? Well, I'm sure you have so many of the things memorized, but which one is your always go-to cookbook for you through the years?
I don't really have just one. I mean, I have a lot of books that I turn to, but I really like Maida Heater's baking books when I'm not sure like what I want to make. I like to browse through them just for inspiration, and then I really like bistro cooking is a cookbook that I always find kind of comforting to page through.
Yeah.
Patricia Wells, yeah.
Yes, and I met Patricia. She was in Chicago. How delightful. She and Walter. Oh, my goodness. And she was here to talk about her salad book.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really liked her vegetables book. I think that's a great one.
Yes. Oh, that's great to hear. Who has been the chef? Let's put it this way. Who has been the female chef that has most inspired you?
Well, I would say Suzanne Gowen, and it's a lot of, I think she's a wonderful chef, but I also happened to work in the restaurant that she worked at in college. And so she was a line cook back then, and, this was before she, made a name for herself, and she was just a very great person to work with, and also was clearly a great talent even then, and that was clearly recognized in the kitchen. And I've enjoyed following her career and, learning things from her over the years. I mean, I wrote a series with her when I was working at the New York Times, and, so I sort of feel like she's somebody who I kind of keep a connection to throughout my own career.
Oh, that's great. And it's exciting to see, maybe more of an influx with female chefs, like here in Chicago with the Girl and the Goat, Stephanie Izzard. It just has been amazing. Do you see any other up-and-coming female chefs we should be thinking about?
I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know where to begin exactly, but yes, I do think that has it's starting to happen, and I think it's wonderful.
Yes, definitely. And of course, we cannot talk about female chefs without mentioning Julia Child. Did you ever get a chance to meet her, Amanda?
I did.
You did.
Yeah. She came to La Varenne when I was there. She was a friend of Anne Willens, and so she came more than once and spent a bit of time there, which was fun. So I didn't know her well at all, but I just was lucky to kind of cross paths with her a few times.
Oh, that's so neat. And then it's how fitting that you were actually on the movie Julie and Julia, playing yourself.
Yeah.
That must have been a lot of fun. And
it was really great.
Yeah, Julia Child has just touched so many lives, and she's encouraging to me too, because as we all know, I am the world's worst cook, yet she had the gumption to learn how to cook at her age, and here I have just reached the mid-century mark at age 50, and I'm just starting on my own culinary journey and discovery of my taste and food and everything, and it's so neat. Patricia was sharing with me during the interview that she and Julia were actually quite close. They both had places in Provence, and Julia would dine over at her place, and that she ended up with Julia's little oven. Bread oven, I think it is. So, and she still has that. So it's just so amazing to see through the generations, of different women that Julia's little imprint remains in our hearts and in our kitchens. So, and I'm sure she would be thrilled with Food 52, because you have really connected and empowered your community of home cooks, and I encourage everyone to really visit and get active and participating in 52 and on the great cooking contest too. And do you have any cooking contests coming up that the listeners should know about, or?
Well, our current one, which they will be able to vote in soon, is your best radishes or turnips recipe. And so we have 92 entries, and we will be, I think, putting up the finalists next week or the week after. So, that would be, and so you can vote on their favorite, and we'd love anyone and everyone's participation.
Oh, that is exciting. And listeners, I'll make sure we get that link out. And meanwhile, Amanda, this has just been so delightful to at last speak with one of the icons of the culinary world. And as Gourmet named you one of the 50 most influential women in food, and I'm just so delighted that you took the time to visit my kitchen on Kitchen Chat, and I've learned so much, and I think I will be an avid participant of writing into that hotline. So
great, excellent,
that available. So,
okay, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, and remember, everyone, take the time and savor the day.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in Margaret's books, A Mother's Heart Knows, Pearl Girls, Encountering Grit, Experiencing Grace, and Go Back and Be Happy, please just click on the covers on the webtalkradio.net page in front of you. Margaret would love to connect with you and hear from you, so join her on Twitter, Facebook, her blog, or click on this website to leave a note and share a recipe. Thank you again, and we'll see you here again for a new show next week.